Mentally and physically, success can be defined as getting up one more time after you've been knocked down over and over and over again. I'm T.Wood, and this is Triumphant Moments, where I highlight significant moments in life that are far beyond the surface to inform, encourage, and inspire people to triumph over their life's challenges. This is Chopping It Up with T.Wood, all things HBCU edition. Listen, I told y'all, I'm not just here to run my mouth. I'm going to make sure we grab the necessary information to help people press forward. With me, I have some good brothers that are part of the United Negro College Fund. Now, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys introduce yourself. Haki, you can start first.
Thank you, brother. It's a pleasure to be with you on Chopping It Up with T.Wood. My name is Hbcus. I am the Area Development Director for UNCF in South Florida, a position that I proudly serve and I'm humbled to serve in. With me today, I'd love to pass it over to my friend Carlton Williams, who's on our Leadership Council.
Hello, everyone. My name is Carlton Williams. I am a proud participant of the UNCF South Florida Leadership Board, also a fellow HBCU alum as well. So I enjoy talking about both as they are near and dear to my heart and my efforts.
That's real. That's real. Let's pretty much dive right on into it, fellas. First and foremost, now, can we get a little bit of history of United Negro College Fund, maybe some of the things that UNCF has done to help individuals, maybe?
Sure. So, like I said, I proudly serve as the Area Development Director in South Florida. UNCF, the United Negro College Fund, founded about 77 years ago, April 25th, 1944, is the nation's largest and most effective minority education organization. It serves the community by supporting students with scholarships, development programs, as well as supporting and strengthening our 37 member institutions and universities. And we also advocate on the Hill for minority education and college readiness. And of course, as you know, everyone knows, no statement of philosophy is more well known than a mind is a terrible thing to waste. Something that we updated in the late 70s, a mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a wonderful thing to invest in. And primarily, we have about 400 scholarships and different programs at the United Negro College Fund nationally. We serve throughout the nation. We have 23 different offices from Atlanta to as far east as New York, New Jersey area, as well as far west as San Francisco. And of course, the great state of Florida here where I serve. We serve about 60,000 students annually. We've helped more than 600,000 students attend college and probably at a 70% graduate rate. So we've probably helped about 70% of that 600,000 graduate from college. We give out 17% of all African-American baccalaureate degrees at our institutions. So minority serving institutions, HBCUs, give out the majority of baccalaureates to African-Americans. What else can I say? Yeah, so, annually we're giving out money to students, we're supporting our HBCUs, and we're advocating. Recently, during the COVID-19 pandemic, as you know, the federal government did a lot of relief efforts. And so we advocated for a lot of that. We were able to get a lot of our institutions, a lot of their debt forgiven at the federal level. And one of the things that I like to throw out there, the United Negro College Fund is only second to the federal government in financial aid assistance to minorities. And so after Pell Grants, we give out the most money.
Wow.
So, that's it in a nutshell.
That's a lot.
Mr. Williams, so there's a generation of, let's say, youth that may not be, the reason I want to point this out, they may not necessarily be familiar with UNCF or even have the motivation to take the time to go and apply. Would you say it's pretty lengthy in the things that you need to do to apply? What are some things that I guess the youth need to do to apply to potentially receive some assistance and funds in college?
Sure. I'd like to have Haki, I was about to say his full name, really speak to kind of that full process. But I'd like to highlight a couple points around the steps to get engaged with
Okay.
UNCF schools and an understanding of the schools, right? One of the things that Haki mentioned overall is just the number of institutions, 37 across the country. It's also important to note that a lot of those institutions are private institutions, right? And they're not the schools that are funded by the state education systems. Therefore, the work and the efforts and the scholarships from UNCF are very valuable and critical to helping those universities maintain effective students, maintain their student bodies, and continue to allow them to function in the way that they do. The other piece that I think is important and really hints on not maybe just the process itself, but the UNCF offices around the country, which Haki and I are a part of here in South Florida, they're one of the key vessels on being able to communicate the impact for HBCU potential graduates, potential students in the respective communities, right? We don't make it hard, in fact, to go out and get dollars, right? Our goal is to continue to push that message out to high school students in the respective areas, making them aware of the types of opportunities out there. But quite candidly, a lot of folks, to your point, don't know as much about UNCF, right? They think of Lou Rawls, right? They think of the telethon. They don't think of the next generation of individuals like Haki and I, who are proud HBCU graduates, continuing to pick up the baton and talk to the community about the overall impact. So in terms of just the process itself, Haki is best suited to answer that question. I just wanted to focus on the fact that we're continuing to push that message to worthy students in the communities through engagement activities, through scholarship functions, talking to organizations in our community to get them to understand the types of students that come out of HBCUs, so that they can also be aware of the talent that comes from them and give those opportunities when they do graduate. Haki, I'll give it back to you to talk a little bit about that process for applying.
So in terms of the process, the main vehicle for applying for UNCF scholarships is uncf.org. On our main national website, a student can go on there, click the scholarships tab. If you're new to the website, they'll ask you to create a profile, which is standard on all scholarship sites. Once you've created that profile, you'll have access to apply to those 400 different scholarships and programs that I talked about earlier. It's a real simple process. Most of our students, who've reached this high school level, I'm sure are very tech savvy. They'll be able to go on there and apply. But one of the things that that's important that Carlton said was, at our 23 different offices nationwide, a student who's not technically savvy, because we have those too, right? A student who's not technically savvy can go into that office and talk to someone at that UNCF office. And like both of you who are HBCU grads, I think UNCF promotes that familiar atmosphere like you got at your school, and they will help you. If you come to my office, I will help you through that process, get you online, create your profile, and go from there. What I like to tell students is, in a sea of 400 scholarships and programs, our donors tend to specify for certain things, right? So there are restricted scholarships, and there are scholarships that are open to everyone that can be used at our 37 member institutions, but can also be used at other schools, right? But in that sea of 400, I always advise students, if the scholarship restriction says we're looking for green-eyed Martians that were born in 1995, who only pledged a certain fraternity, or whose parents only pledged a certain fraternity or sorority, and who are left-handed, right?
Right.
If those are the 5 criteria, apply for it anyway. Because in the field of scholarships, what happens is, when they can't find that left-handed particular fraternity legacy that has green eyes, they're going to go to the next best thing.
Jewel alert.
And so, it might be a right-handed legacy, and so on and so forth. So I always tell students, whatever scholarship website you're on, whether it be, UNCF's Great Scholarship website or our partner Thurgood Marshall Scholarship website, any of them, apply for as many as you can and let the money come into you, because you're gonna qualify for at least one. And the ones that you don't qualify for, you might be the next best thing, and they give it to you anyway.
Yes.
So,
see, when you're thinking about that, is something so key, because Brother Haki, one of the major things is when students read the criteria.
that's right.
And it reminds me of applying for a job. People tend to automatically write themselves off.
Sure.
That's right. That's right.
So, you see the criteria, it's like, okay, I can't go for that one. I am so happy that you brought that up, because that is extremely crucial. So people can still apply for it. And then if that person's not necessarily found or met, it'll go to the next best fitting person. Is that?
So what happens is, you always hear this. There's hundreds of thousands of dollars in scholarships out there that aren't being used. The reason they're not being used is, in the field of philanthropy, you have activist donors. And so they're trying to change the world by helping a particular person along the way. So, I went to a little school in Washington, D.C. called Howard University. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but if, let's say, I were the donor and I wanted to create a scholarship for students who, it's not this restrictive, but let's say students who have applied to Howard University, right? And then, the normal 2.5 GPA in high school, has filled out a FAFSA, which is the federal student aid application that allows you federal funding. So if those criteria aren't met, okay, so whoever runs that scholarship can call me and say, Haki, well, we can't find any students who want to go to Howard. Would you consider giving that scholarship to a student who wants to go to FAMU, which is an equally great school, right? And I would say, sure, let's do that. I want a student who wants to go to a HBCU. And so that's how it normally works. The people reviewing the scholarship criteria, reviewing the applications, if they can't find the exact criteria candidate, then they'll go to the next best thing. And so, like you were saying, don't take yourself out of that pool because it says something that you think you don't qualify for. Apply anyway. Let them tell you no. Don't you yourself take yourself out of the running, because you might be something that they're looking for. And then there's always the opportunity. Like I said, we have 400. So you might apply for one scholarship, you don't get that scholarship. And we're like, but dad, this kid is a great candidate. Let's find them something. We have 400. Let's find them something else. And once you've created your profile on our website, you're eligible for anything that's on our website that applies to you. And so we might find you something else.
I definitely think that's an important message, in that it's the first goal is to just get yourself in the pool of candidates,
That's
right? Get yourself in the pool of candidates. And right now there's a momentum, of course, related to HBCU experience, HBCU education, that it's important for whether or not a student desires or has the true ambition to go to an HBCU to still apply for these opportunities, because it allows you to, one, gain experience.
That's right.
I'm a big person in gaining experience on filling out a form, going to an interview for the job that maybe, or the opportunity or the college that you may not want, because it gives you that learning lesson, right? But it also allows you to engage with and be part of a pool of candidates. As it relates back to UNCF scholarships, you may not fit the initial one that you applied for, but it gets you in that conversation, right? It gets you under consideration. And that's important as we continue to try to push and engage more students that look like us to attend HBCUs for quality education, to prepare them for advanced education and also for the workforce.
Now, see, there's a certain passion that jumps out of the screen that exudes from both y'all when it comes to this. So tell me this. What do y'all feel triggers it for you? Did you experience any assistance from UNCF, in your time? Or is there somebody that might have worked with them that was just help provided for you? What is the key trigger for both of you all that provided this passion and help that y'all have right now for UNCF?
Well, I myself, I'm going to date myself. I attended college in 1990. I was the first in my family to attend college, like many of our students. They're first generation college students. And so my mom was a single mom of Haitian descent. So, well, I'm of Haitian descent. My mom was born in Haiti. She didn't go to college in the United States. And so she knew nothing about the college going process, the application process. I remember distinctly my mom paid a lawyer $400 just to fill out the FAFSA, something that I would learn I could have done myself, through my financial aid office without losing that $400. So you imagine how many other students have gone through that process. But also, along the lines of my motivation for this work, I could have easily been a statistic. I was born and raised in Newark, New Jersey, but I grew up in New York, in Brooklyn, New York. I could have easily been a street corner pharmaceutical salesman. I could have, been one of the murdered statistics on a Brooklyn street corner. But some things happened in high school that led me to a path of Howard University, purely by accident. Like I said, my mom knew nothing about the application process. So I essentially caught a ride from two friends in my high school that were going to Howard also during my freshman year. Got there, got on campus, didn't have housing, had a Pell Grant and some financial aid, but most of my money was going to either come from loans or scholarships. I went to the residence life office. I met a gentleman by the name of Dean William Keene, who walked me through the housing process. I ended up in a senior dorm instead of the freshman male dorm because, by the time I got to campus and hadn't applied for housing, I took whatever they could find for me, and they found something for me. And I'm sure both of you guys are, HBCU graduates. I'm sure you got that love by somebody on campus too.
Yes.
After I got my housing straightened out, I walked into the financial aid office. I remember this lady's name distinctly, Tanya Simpkin. Tanya told me everything I needed to know about the financial aid process. She even told me at the time, remember, I'm an old dude. This is back in 1990. In Washington, D.C. at the time, if a student was from a certain income bracket, you could file for food stamps, and they would feed you through food stamps.
Hey.
And so Tanya walked me through that process. She said, here's what you do for your financial aid. I didn't have a meal plan. Go down to this office downtown, get yourself some food stamps so you'll be able to eat. And, little by little, going into different offices, asking for help and getting help, getting like paternal, maternal type help on this campus. I'm the dude that you see before you today. And so, passing that kind of assistance along, passing that kind of love along has always been my passion. I see myself in so many of these students that, but for an opportunity, could be somewhere else. And so I work to try and provide them that opportunity. And I think everyone involved at UNCF, at HBCUs, works to provide those opportunities for our students.
Come on, man.
Indeed.
Congratulations, Brother Carlton.
Yes, so I am a proud graduate of Florida A&M University in Tallahassee, and I got there actually not necessarily by accident, but through understanding what the HBCU experience really meant. My mother's a graduate of Fort Valley State College in Fort Valley, Georgia, and actually she went there because that was the option, right? She grew up about 60 miles away from there. And if you were going to college in Middle Georgia back in the 60s, you were going to Fort Valley State, right? I had some other uncles, cousins of my mother, father's generation, attended various HBCUs as well, Howard University, Tennessee State University. But again, their drive to go to those schools was primarily because they viewed it as that was their option. Right. They weren't looking at going to the larger state schools where they grew up because it wasn't something under consideration for them. They knew their best chance for getting educated was to go to an HBCU. I didn't really understand that until I got to the HBCU myself. And what really drove me there ultimately was a pastor of mine who said, you'll have the opportunity to go back into what is society today which we are a minority of that 12 to 13%. But this chance, your college choice, allows you that opportunity to be around like-minded individuals, get the nurturing, the consideration, the understanding that Haki talked about a moment ago. This is your one chance to control that destiny in your college choice. And I took it, right? And when I'm glad I took it. I grew up in Maryland, outside of DC, a city called Rockville, Maryland. A lot of people up there couldn't even pronounce FAMU. When I would say FAMU, they would say FAMU. So I go on a college tour. I decided to be a biology major at the time. And, I'm starstruck by not only the campus, what I'm seeing. It's Florida. I grew up in Maryland. It's springtime. It's gorgeous outside. But I had a chance to see, of course, Dr. Humphreys. And after I did a little tour, Dr. Humphreys and also another gentleman by the brother Leo Sam, took my parents and I into the dining facility, the faculty dining facility. They answered every question that we had about school. They took us over to my major office. I then was, and it wasn't just solely because of the interaction with them, but have been awarded a partial scholarship. They really took care of those out-of-state fees, right? Out-of-state fees. I, like Haki, went to school in the early 90s. Those out-of-state fees could be pricey, right?
That's right.
And just not only from the moment, the day I took a tour, all the way up through making sure, my scholarship was applied appropriately, any financial aid that I needed, people helping me to then become an in-state student so I can get myself through grad school and walk myself through that process, and any aid that I needed there, that nurturing that I received, along with the quality education. And that's the other part. Let's not forget the quality education that we get from these schools. That's the nurturing, the caring, the support that springboards a lot of us to be the successful individuals, the entrepreneurs, the business owners, those that are in corporate America leadership right now. Folks like myself, Haki, this age group, we're the leaders. We're the mid managers to senior executives of a lot of organizations right now. And if not, we're the key influencers, right? So it's the network that we obtained while being at that school. In addition to that, to where we go to any major city, we're not alone. We can find an alumni chapter. We can find someone we went to college with. We need something, just as when we're raising funds for UNCF, we have a network of folks that are a phone call away to help support us. When I talk to some friends, and it's no knock, but I talk to those who went to predominantly white universities as well, they don't share that same experience. Maybe isolated in some, right? Some that have a larger minority population, but they don't share that same experience. And that's why the work of UNCF is so important. That's why we must continue to not make this just a moment in regards to how we speak about HBCUs, the love that we have, the passion that we have, but more importantly, the results that HBCU schools put out into the workforce. That's what we have to continue that mantra, not just in this moment of heightened, social inequality, but we got to continue this every single day until we have no other breath. So I don't want to preach too much. I could talk on HBCUs all day. That's right. What it's meant to me, but it is not just about just the passion of our respective schools. I tell everybody all the time, we're more than just bands. We are quality educated individuals, and that's why the work of schools like UNCF are so important. One other final thing that I want to bring home about the circular point of UNCF and kind of how I got here. I actually went to school with an individual who was the son of William Dr. Gray, who led UNCF from the early 90s into the early 2000s. Justin Gray, his son, was at FAMU with me, and it kind of brought full circle in all of those components around UNCF's work. I never forgot that, never forgot how Justin talked about what his dad was, doing back during that time period. And also when I got a chance to be part of a corporate leadership team that needed someone to represent UNCF for that institution, I jumped at that moment at that time.
You know what? And this is just me taking out time to send a quick little shout out to, not even a little, big shout out to Voorhees College, which is one of the HBCUs I graduated from. It's them and Florida A&M University. Just knowing the love that I got from Voorhees College, tremendous. And then when I see y'all plug your HBCU, your respective HBCU, every single time I am seeing, even though they're different HBCUs, I am seeing the same result, the same love, the same passion. I'm telling you, I see every time when y'all talked about your HBCU, your eyes lit up. Regardless of whatever ups and downs you had, it lit up.
That's right.
Tell me this. What is all right? We see the support that UNCF has. What about what people can do to support in UNCF? What are some things that people can do to either donate or give back, and where would they go for that?
Absolutely. Well, again, we're in the electronic age, so everything is done online. And like I said, our main website is uncf.org. Our South Florida website, uncf.org/Fort Lauderdale, is our local website for South Florida. UNCF is my position is primarily a fundraising position. And our major fundraising event is going to happen on December 3rd. It's at the Harbor Beach Marriott Resort and Spa. It's the 21st anniversary of our South Florida Leaders Luncheon. And that luncheon we do annually to raise money for our scholarships, to raise money for our students, to raise money to help promote our member HBCUs. Here in South Florida, we have 3 member schools: Bethune-Cookman University, Edward Waters University, and Florida Memorial University. And so those 3 schools benefit from our fundraising. We do annually several different fundraisers, but that event on December 3rd is our main primary fundraising event. And, people can donate to that, participate in that, but also reach out to your local office. Call your UNCF office, volunteer at some of their events, ask to volunteer to mentor a student. We have mentorship programs. We have lectures that we provide. Carlton has spoken at several of our online lectures during the past year. And so you can be a part of that as well. Give through philanthropy, yes, but give of yourself. Like you were saying, and like we've both shared, part of the HBCU experience is that wraparound services that you get from HBCU family. And so you leave home for the first time, you're on a college campus, people kind of wrap you in their arms and they take you in and they treat you like family. And so we promote that at UNCF as well, helping our students in any way that you can. Give of yourself, give of your experience, and letting them know that, there are people out there that want to see them succeed, because we have some of the greatest students. As Carlton said, I've talked about processes and I've given numbers, but one of the things that people tend to think about HBCUs is that they're less than. We have some of the greatest students in college right now. And but for that financial hurdle, they are the geniuses amongst them. And then the other thing too that I like to point out is that within the United States right now, we have less honors students. We have less students than China and India has honors students. So let me repeat that because I kind of bobbled that a little bit. Wow. India and China individually, not combined, individually, China has more honors students living in China, fluent in English, than the United States has students. India by itself has more English-speaking fluent honors students than the United States has students. So in a global economy, when you're talking about this global community that we live in, everything is so close. People in the United States are competing with that, right? And so if we want to remain a world leader, if we want to remain economically viable, if we want to remain a superpower, minority students need to be cultivated for our student pool to be lifted to that level.
Wow.
So,
Hakeem,
make of that what you will.
Well, it just highlights that education really is an arms race, right?
Yes, sir.
We think about objects, military, products within our economy, as a race against the global aspect in our global competition, but sometimes very, infrequently, we don't hear about education as the competitive arms race as well. So thank you for bringing that up. That's that's so important for us, and hopefully we all can really understand and embrace what that truly means. If I could just highlight a couple of other areas that in which people can support UNCF and other HBCUs. The one area is within whatever organization that you work with currently, if that organization has a corporate giving program, right? Successfully earlier this year, Hbcus introduced a corporate giving partnership with another large global organization for their North America operations and raise significant dollars that can help scholarships. So a lot of us work for corporations, employers that match or sometimes will be willing to allow for their intranet platforms to be used as online giving portals.
That's right.
Ask your human resources department or your leaders there, could that be offered and UNCF be part of that portal system as well? The other piece is getting back to then that educational awareness, which is around making sure that those that are in education today really understand how to get information in students' hands about HBCUs. Yes. What do I mean by that? Helping those that are in education today, guidance counselors, teachers, those that lead academic advisement, even just teachers themselves up front, drive them towards sites like uncf.org or to get a better understanding of the schools, the opportunities, the scholarships, but also find where there are, to Hbcus' point earlier, assistance. If you can't do the lift, let some of the local offices do the lift. But then finally, make sure that whatever state you're in across the country, if there's an HBCU there, please make sure that you have some type of relationship or contact with those schools. When it comes to a student applying there, so that they're not just one student applying by themselves. No, establish relationships with these universities at every single school in these larger public school systems, the private schools as well, so that there's a relationship there and it's not a cold handoff of student to student. It's a warm handoff. It's a warm send-off. They have someone to advocate in their scholastic application process. And also make sure that HBCUs and UNCF schools in particular are at student career days, right? Yes. So, we don't get the awareness unless there's representation. When we have the career day, we shouldn't have only the state schools that a student is part of and even schools from out of state or other state schools. If they can travel, we can travel, right? And in today's virtual age, if they can't be there in person for a career day at a school, then ask them to send a video submission that the students can have access to. But there's no reason right now that there isn't the opportunity in person or virtual for students not to be aware of what the great works that are going on at UNCF and some of the other HBCU schools across the country.
And if I could piggyback off of that just briefly, we advocate for higher education, primarily for our HBCUs, but we want minority students to pursue post-secondary education. So what does that mean? In the legislation going around right now, they're trying to make community college free for all students who want to attend, who are eligible to attend. If that happens, that'll be great. So attending a 2-year community college, if you go ahead and get that associate's degree, even the great prices that you get at HBCUs that are more competitive than some of your predominantly white institutions, sometimes is too much for low income, first in college, single parent students, right? So go ahead and attend that community college that's in your area, but then take those credits and transfer later on to an HBCU. Get that first 2 years of college done at a community college, transfer to a HBCU. Your degree will be the same. You'll still say, I graduated with a bachelor's degree from FAMU, even though I started at Miami-Dade Community College here in South Florida, a great school, and you'll still be able to have that credential. Like I said, at UNCF, we really want minority students to pursue post-secondary education, whatever that looks like. And we give scholarships for the gamut. We give scholarships for minority institutions, white institutions, community colleges, even technical schools. We have some colleges, we have some scholarships for technical schools. Wow. So pursuing that post-secondary education is what's key. Because like I said earlier, one of the things for the United States to remain competitive is to push education as a human right, is to push education as fundamental to the success of everyone. Because as you can see, the world is changing. Look at this pandemic. Look at the example that it's given us, right? Without nurses, doctors who were on the front lines, without some of these, firefighters and other medical professionals, what would the world look like?
Mental health therapists.
Yes, mental health.
Yes.
And those are credentialed people. Those are people that went to school to learn those skills. And they're the ones that saved us during this past year. So become one of those people and pursue a post-secondary education.
And I know y'all know I would keep y'all on this episode more hours because of the knowledge and the information and the compassion that's being presented out there. I'm going to make sure we stretch this to as many students as we can to get this information out, and so that they understand, look, we can help. Let's get this going. As one thing I want to point out, and I want to see if you all two agree, no matter what HBCU you graduated from, whatever city, something that struck Haki, something that you said, would y'all say that you can still participate and help out another HBCU if you just happen to be living within the area? Is there anything that you can do to help out? We're not, just because we're from different HBCUs doesn't mean we're separated like, okay, I went here, so I can't show a little support. I'm living in the area. You might have your son, your daughter, a relative attend that particular college. Y'all have anything y'all want to share on that?
Carlton, I'll let you go first.
Sure. We are doing that currently. Again, Haki and I are from different HBCUs, but in different geographies from where we reside today. And the HBCU that's closest to us is Florida Memorial University.
That's right.
We have strong relationships and ties with them as much as possible. When there is a fundraising event or they have opportunities for us to come and support that school, we're there. Right. So it doesn't matter where you're located. If you're around a school that has the same passion and drive that you have for your HBCU, and they have fundamental needs on supporting students, getting them educated, and more importantly, either, like Haki said, getting them to advanced degrees or getting them placed in awareness of corporations and opportunities once they graduate, that's the goal. That's what we're trying to achieve. Right. So don't let your geography limit your opportunity to be some supporter of HBCU or minority education in general. There's always an opportunity to serve and support.
And also, like more specifically, UNCF, we have an alumni network in every city that we have an office. And so we have alumni networking functions, not only for our member schools, but for anyone who attended an HBCU. And so, volunteer, like we were saying earlier, at a UNCF office, and they might place you with the alumni network, and they have their own activities. They have youth groups that they support. They have college going activities. So I know there's like annual here in South Florida, there's an annual send off for students who've been accepted to Howard, in the fall. So we have an alumni group that gets them, sheets and toiletries and things like that. And then we send them off and we have a whole little ceremony. So be a part of those things. And like you were saying, it doesn't matter what school you went to, the HBCU family is deep, and supporting each other, I think is something that's key at every institution. And so, wherever you find yourself, if there isn't a school, there's probably a UNCF. And if by chance there isn't a UNCF office or a school, then, connect with us online. Or there's a Thurgood Marshall Scholarship Fund. Whatever organization that you find yourself near, be a part of that organization, because ultimately, fundamentally, minority students need to be attending college, and we need to promote that however we can.
Absolutely.
Y'all need to understand it. We are to the end right here. I want to say this to you all. I thank y'all for coming on the show and taking out time in y'all day to help encourage, to help provide some information about UNCF, all the powerful things it's done, and all the powerful things that are going to happen. And really how accessible UNCF is.
Yes,
You know,
sir.
a lot of people don't really
Yes.
realize you're not having to push over a mountain. You can get connected. It's right there at your fingertips.
Yes, sir.
I'd like, before we leave out, I just want to know if there's anything you want to share. Is there a particular website outside of uncf.org, I believe, if anyone wants to go there? Any other websites that y'all needed to make sure you plug out there for anyone?
No, our information is on uncf.org/Fort Lauderdale for the local office, and the national office is uncf.org. Anything that folks want to do, they can reach either me directly or the national office through those two websites. Most of our emails, my UNCF email is haki.halisi, haki.halisi@uncf.org. So you can email me directly, and like I said, I'm happy to help any student that wants to take this journey. I look forward to lifting up those who are coming behind us.
And also, please check out all of the social media sites as well for UNCF nationally, as well as UNCF local offices, whether it be through Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, etc. You'll often see the opportunity to engage on certain events or fundraising opportunities via those social media sites as well.
And so we're to the end here. Please don't be alarmed. I know we all look related. It's the thing. I get it. No, we're not related. Don't worry. We're not related. Anyhow, Brother Carlton, Brother Haki, could you please tell everybody who you chopping it up with?
Oh, man, it's been a pleasure chopping it up with T.Wood. This was truly triumphant.
T.Wood, appreciate you. Thank you so much, brother.
No problem. Y'all have a blessed one. All right.